The demon of Atzoatl has finally come for me.
So far, PoE 2 is absolute cinema. The bosses, amazing. The music, incredible. The leveling, the most painful leveling experience I've ever had. With that being said, I would like to help you so you don't have to suffer like I did for 3 to 4 hours. So here's what I did. I'm level 64, I just killed Doriani again, and I'm about to go do my first maps. I went Infernalist, and I did yoink the main character name. I am literally him. Feels good, man. And my stats and gear are terrible. They've been terrible from literally Act 1, and I imagine it's the same for you. I can't help you get gear. What I can do is help you get damage. So here's exactly what I did. Coming into PoE 2, all I knew was I wanted to play with the doggo, I wanted to be an Infernalist, and I wanted to play fire minions. Luckily, it worked. For my version, the dog is our utility, and he is our tank. He takes damage for us, and he uses fire exposure, Culling Strike, and minion mastery. Now, the interesting thing about the dog is that he does do righteous fire just like the guy does in PoE 1. But in PoE 2, it does count as igniting enemies, and fire exposure works off of igniting enemies. So all he has to do is just walk next to a mob and he exposes them. Now, because of fire exposure, although his utility is really good, his damage becomes not so great. But regardless, he's our tank, he's our utility, he's the best boy, and I would fight for him. Now, obviously with fire exposure, we should run flammability, and we're obviously targeting fire res. This works just like in PoE 1. The more negative fire res, the more damage we do. So Skeletal Arsonist and Raging Spirits are what does our damage. Now, if you do not know how Raging Spirits works, here's a very brief understanding. I'm gonna go slow because it's a little complicated if you don't know how it works. Raging Spirits cannot be manually summoned. You can only summon them as a side effect. So in our case, we cast Flame Wall, that summons the Raging Spirits. And because they are an aura, they don't come from the main skill gems, they come from spirit gems. Here's the problem. The minion ability, Raging Spirits, is not under Witch. It's actually under Sorceress. I don't know why it's like this. This is stupid, this should be fixed. But that's just the way it is. I made this mistake, so hopefully you don't have to. So for your first spirit gem, take Raging Spirits. None of these other options are even worth considering. Just take Raging Spirits. It's the best one. Over here in your support gems, you need to right click it to turn it on. It reserves spirit. Here, my spirit down here, it's 144. If I turn them off, 171. Now, my final version is Minion Instability, Infernal Legion, and Feeding Frenzy. However, this is very important. You do not get access to these until Act 3. So for Act 1 and 2, you need to run a different setup. Here's what I ran instead. On the low end, I ran Fire Infusion and Persistence, more duration, and we're going for hit-based SRS. The good news is their damage is still really good. Also, Skeletal Arsonist is pretty strong and can detonate SRS. So even if you don't have minion instability, if you have Skeletal Arsonist, you can detonate minions. Here's how that works. Let's use a Skeletal Frost Mage because they have very low HP, so I can just detonate them right now. When they're detonatable, I don't know the right word for that. It is what it is. They have a red glow on their head. So when your SRS turn red, detonate them. Now you can be lazy and not do this. It's not going to make or break your damage at all, but it's definitely just a nice damage boost. Now, an important thing about flammability is that it takes a lot of mana. Right now, it doesn't take that much because I'm int stacking. But when you're level 20 something, this thing takes all of your mana. So don't feel like you have to run Heightened Curse. Just run it by itself and only use it on rares or bosses. Now the last thing is Pain Offering. Pain Offering, you sacrifice a skeleton. It's just like Flesh Offering, it lasts about 6 seconds. It kind of sucks. It gets one shot. I would only ever use this on bosses or rares. Don't try to use it against normal mobs. You're just gonna hate your life. Now the Skeletal Arsonist links Magnified Effect, Fire Pen, Scattershot. You get access to Fire Pen the same time as you'll get a third link, so just run Scattershot, Magnified Effect, should be good to go. You can also experiment with other stuff, but I found that this was at least good enough. They are going to die a lot. I have literally gotten as many minion HP nodes as I can the entire game, and they will die all the time. It's just part of the game. That's it for the main damage links. Last thing we have to talk about is Flame Wall. Works the exact same way it did PoE 1. For supports, I'm running Fortress and Arcane Tempo. I'm not sure if there's anything else you can fit here. I haven't really experimented with it. I would recommend that you do run Flame Wall, obviously because projectiles pass through the Flame Wall. Then again, it is PoE. Maybe there is something else out there to try. Feel free to experiment. Now, if you're a visual learner and you need to see this to understand it, very simple. I'm reserving as many as I can. My discipline aura from my scepter is still on. I have that link to clarity and vitality. Don't got to do this, but that's what I'm doing. We walk up, the doggo's running up. They're exposed. That little icon next to the ignite means they're exposed. Cast Flame Wall. SRS go out. One shot everything. Anything that's still alive explodes, is dead, and we're winning. That's it. That's literally the entire build. It's 3 buttons. In a world where I thought I'd be pressing 10 buttons, this just works, and I pretty much walked through the entire campaign. Now, 100% you can add more gems. Feel free to experiment, try out different things. It's a brand new game. This is just what I ran to get through the campaign, and hopefully I'll make a full build guide about this afterwards. Now, before I give some just basic advice about, leveling and things like that, I think it's only fair to give you just 1 minute full just gameplay. No commentary. This is what the build looks like.
Death is my power to wield. Best dodge that.
Now that's how the build works. This is my skill tree. I'll leave it here for a couple seconds. Feel free to pause it. I just went for minion HP as early as possible, and I just started getting energy shield around, like, let's say level 50, level 60, and that's basically it. So that's the tree. Here's some basic advice around gearing. I plan on leveling every single class, every ascendancy, trying a bunch of stuff, doing a 0 to hero down the road. So I need to get good at leveling quickly. The first thing I understand is that you need to check the vendor every single time you level up. It's operating off of old school PoE 1 rules where every time you level up, your vendor refreshes. Unfortunately, you will not have enough gold to buy really anything. So make sure if you're going to buy something, it's something you're going to wear for a while. Don't just buy something that you're thinking is, oh, it's okay, I'll wear it for a little bit. No, if you're going to buy something, make sure it has +1 weapons. It's a rare item. It has move speed. Just anything that's going to last you a while, or something I'm going to craft on this, and regardless of what happens, I'm wearing it. Next up, I would not recommend that you sell things to the vendors. Gold is good, but what's better than that? Crafting materials. Transmutations, augmentations, and even regal shards, eventually turning into regal orbs, are really valuable while leveling. You're really going to have to probably make most of your gear. I think I maybe dropped 20 rare items from Act 1 to Act 3 total, and 90% of them were complete garbage, awful. You're gonna have to craft your own stuff. Either that, or you buy it off the vendor and you craft off of that, but regardless, you're gonna have to get comfortable with crafting. So long story short, feel free to use your transmutations and augments, but save your regal orbs for something that already has 2 good stats. If it has move speed and life, no matter what happens, you're wearing that for a while. Don't just waste regal orbs. I did that because I thought I was gonna get a lot of regal orbs. Turns out, that's not what happens. Maybe you get lucky, but for me, if I didn't craft it, it wasn't good. This chest is the only piece of gear I have that's good. Yes, I augmented, transmutationed it, regaled it, and I exalted it. I did that with my amulet. I did that with my gloves. I did that with my rings. Literally every single piece of gear I have is crafted except for the boots. And my last piece of advice is, well, a future me problem, uniques. If it's your second character, your third character, the unique items for minions are really strong. This is a Leer cast. I don't do damage, so this is just 50% increased damage, right? From what I can see, the most popular in demand item is Bones of Oler. But obviously, because they're in high demand, they're going to be expensive. Just keep in mind, uniques exist, trade chat exists, it's a mess. It's like 2013 PoE all over again, but you can buy items from people, especially uniques. If I miss something, obviously this is my first character, and I feel obviously pretty confident from prior PoE experience, but I 100% could have just completely missed something. If I did, just let me know. I want to go back and play PoE 2, and you should too. Catch you later, man.